will call to order this meeting of the Fire Code Board of Appeals at 4:03 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Miller.
Here.
Verplank.
Here.
And Beckman.
Here.
And Chief Janik as well.
And Greg, yeah.
Sorry, I always forget you.
Reminder to silence cell phones. Approval of the agenda. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda and ratify the procedures for public participation in a meeting conduct as described in the notice of public meeting via video conference?
Wow. So moved.
Support.
All right, any discussion on that? All right, roll call vote, please.
Yep. Verplank.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes,
Passes 3-0, sir.
thank you. Approval of minutes from the February 1st, 2021 Board of Appeals meeting, which are below. Can we start with a motion to approve those minutes, and then we can go into discussion if needed?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
A second.
Any discussion on them?
A lot of stuff there.
Mhm.
Did you go back and watch the videos to get all these notes, or how did you
Yeah,
get them?
some of it I did. Most of it I did as I went, but some of the areas I did have to go back and clarify the videos.
Yeah,
So
cool. Just wondering.
I'm not that good.
Good. It looks good from my perspective.
And it
Can
has
we get
been
a-
reviewed by the Fire District Council as well, and he approved of it as well. So
Excellent, thank you.
Mhm.
I guess roll call vote on approving the minutes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes,
Passes 3-0, sir.
thank you. No unfinished business, so then moving to 6A, new business, Board of Appeals fee structure. Does someone want to, I'm guessing this, I know this was on the agenda for last week's board meeting that I missed, so does someone want to give the update on sort of what was discussed or what you want to discuss tonight?
Yeah, I can respond to that if it's okay with you, Aaron.
Sure, thank you.
I put this on from a perspective that it's when we called around to get an idea, everyone has a right to an appeal. When we called around, we were not aware of the Construction Board of Appeals had an additional $500 fee on it in the township. So it was $400 plus another $500 to cover legal costs and things. We certainly have exceeded that by probably 4 times the amount. It just seems, is the Board of Appeals content with the way this application was submitted? Primary residence, yep. Was it a business? I don't know. The applicant owned several parcels. It just is most unfortunate the way this has turned out, because it's proven to be very costly. And I'm just want to make sure that the Board of Appeals is content with the way this appeal was presented. We already know it was a development. However, the applicants, it was a primary residence. So the way we wrote this, it could be interpreted as a primary resident. It just, I don't know. That's why I wanted to bring it to, as your code enforcement official, I wanted to bring it to the Board of Appeals.
Aaron, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think the intent of what we were trying to do is still right. It seemed like this was just I don't know, it was presented a little differently and it turned into something different. As opposed to just a single person trying to appeal, the ruling. this turned out to be a, an LLC, which is a business. And so I think our intent is still good. I just think, there's an exception and ways around every rule and fee and everything else that, can we make fees for everything? So just my thought.
Can you remind me how we have the fee structure set up now? It looks like, I think you flashed up there.
Yeah, that's not the right one. I'm trying to find it.
I can read it to you if you want to, Aaron.
Sure.
The application fee for a homeowner appealing the IFC for his or her primary residence shall be $400. The application fee for a builder, developer, or any other person or entity not appealing a primary residence shall be $1,000. In addition to the standard fee of $1,000 for a building, developer, or any other person or entity not appealing a primary resident, the applicant shall be required to pay an amount of $1,000 as escrow fee to be held by Saugatuck Township Fire District. The fire board may use the escrow funds to retain a planning consultant, experts, attorneys, and/or similar professional consultants. In the event the escrow drops to $250 or below, the applicant shall replenish it to the original amount of $1,000. Any escrow balance remaining when the appeal is completed shall be returned to the applicant.
So I think that this is stuck in the question we have overall that sort of was in a lot of ways that the crux of the appeal is, what does a development mean? And if I were to think about, so with the township today, the fire board or you get involved with building permits when an individual homeowner is looking to build, you review then. In what cases is it in the code that you review developments from developers? That's with PUDs or like subdivisions.
So we could be requested to review on a variety of situations. In the case of a single family development, the building permit process on the website for the township requires sign off from the fire code official or a delegate.
Yep.
That is to accommodate the access of water supply and address signs.
Mm-hmm.
So irrespective of who does it, we have that right to regulate that because of the fire code. And PUDs, if planning commissions are involved, there's more of a tie-in. If it's by right or meets and bounds, that becomes problematic because sometimes zoning administrators want to make those decisions, where in Saugatuck we have a fire department capable of doing that. So pretty much universally in all three municipalities, everything is sent to us, even alterations, additions to a single family dwelling. So we're to review that. A change of use, for example, by law, by ordinance, a change of use is subject to the building code official's review and the fire department's review.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, any construction would be subject to our review for the external structure. So the mechanism, the trigger that gets it there could be the ZA, planning commission, or the applicant themselves. For example, Aaron, if you built your house, today in Douglas, you could submit that application to us directly. We get a lot of homeowners that do it directly, or developers. So it's maybe 6 different methods that we can receive it.
So it seems like in this case, it goes back to the step that was missed was early on of at the development level, it should have been submitted to you for review and approval. And when it wasn't, that means it carried on down the line until a single family dwelling was looking to get approval. So I still feel like our structure is overall right of appeals. Is more like the appeal should have happened earlier when you guys should have been brought in earlier at the development level.
I agree. I agree.
Jane?
I have a question. Should this have been denied as an appeal for a single family dwelling? Should we have, I'm just thinking out loud right now. Should we have denied it as that? And because it was reviewed as a development, it would have to be, the Board of Appeals would have to review it as a development and not as a single family dwelling. I mean, I think we should have refused to hear possibly we should have refused to hear this as a single family dwelling and did something about insisting that it was a development. Or at least it was reviewed as a development. It wasn't reviewed as a single family dwelling. So,
It wasn't submitted as a development, a single, you know,
yeah, I understand that, but maybe it should have been. I mean, it seems to be the problem lies in the fact that the Board of Appeals reviewed it as a single family dwelling and decided that it was a development in essence. So should we have,
I think if it comes up again, my recommendation to the Board of Appeals would be to get a legal opinion on how to proceed or not to proceed with it. I think we have an obligation to receive it and schedule it. And I think this is one of those areas where there's a loophole. And I don't know if we can cover all loopholes. It's just something that, is it a primary resident for the applicant? But the way it may happen is every person that wants to build a house in development is going to file the appeal if they choose to, and not the developer, thereby costing the taxpayers money. But I don't know what could have been done differently on this. I did ask the attorney along the lines, and do we have to review or accept any appeal? And they pretty much said yes.
Well, if you look at his original Board of Appeal or application for appeal, I mean, we probably could have been pricks and said, well, you never checked the box and there's 3 boxes and let's start over.
I pointed that out to legal, Eric. To me, if I was a voting member, it would have been rejected on that premise. That is correct.
I mean, Greg, we want to go back to, I feel that we are a Board of Appeals for the people, by the people, you know, that type of thing. Right. So nitpicking on stuff like this, you know, you got to be careful.
Right.
You know, we're not judges, but a judge probably would have thrown it out if he said, well, you had 3 options and you didn't do any of them. Start over.
I guess it depends on how technical one wants to get on it, you know. I feel like you do. I did point it out to my staff, none of these are checked off. How are we supposed to even move forward with it? And everyone thought, well, let's just present it forward anyway. So.
Well, and if I were them, I would then just write on another piece of paper and check off a box.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Would it be all bad to consider doing like what the township has, where they have the $400 fee for a single family dwelling, but then they have the escrow that starts at $500 to cover their legal fees and a planner or an outside consultant. If we did something similar, then, you know, if it is just a simple, quick, easy done appeal, and, you know, we don't cost the district a ton of money, that you could do it for that $400 fee. But in this case, where they kind of played around the development game and applied under a single family home, you could, you know, use the escrow to cover our legal fees, which would have been a whole lot more than the $500 escrow. Would that be a better way to protect, you know, all of the taxpayers, but yet still allow those single homeowners to hear their appeal?
It's a tough one for me because the way that I I still want to make sure that an appeal is accessible for an average taxpayer, you
Yep.
know, that we're not putting up huge money, like financial barriers for Joe Schmo average homeowner to file an appeal, which is their right to do so.
Sure.
Oh, I totally agree, but this didn't even start out as Joe Schmo. This started
Yeah.
out as an appeal to the Construction Board of Appeals, which that went nowhere. And then moving on to us. And, you know, they were playing games and, you know, I'm sure Josie Bodish being Josie Bodish instead of Josie Van Horn and hoping that nobody picked that up, which I mean, it was a game from the get-go. So, and it cost us a lot of money. So I guess I don't know. I don't know where to go with this. I kind of feel like we should have turned them down and asked for them to appeal it as a development because that's what they are.
I have a suggestion for the Board of Appeals to consider. We can always reconvene, have another meeting and revisit the fee schedule and see if this becomes a problematic in the future, and perhaps revisit the fee structure another time. We leave it as it is now. I mean, in the 20 years we've been doing this, we've had 3 appeals. Yep, there most likely will be more. And I guess we'll just deal with it as an as-needed basis.
Well, I
Yeah.
think, but it needs to be said that in the last 20 years, we've had 3 appeals, but in the last 2 years, we've had 3 appeals. So there seems to be a new way of doing business.
I agree with you, Chief, that, you know, the appeal we just went through is one data point for how someone can sort of maybe not purposely, but maybe purposely sort of skirt the fee structure we set up between a developer and a single family owner. But let's see how the next one, if it starts to become a pattern, then we need to do something. But if that's an isolated instance, then it doesn't feel like we need to change anything. I guess the pattern that might come up would be in this same development. Are there more appeals from people looking to build a home on the lots in this development?
We did just review the neighboring home to the one that you just held the appeal for about a week and a half ago and sent that back to the builder. So it is possible there'll be another one filed identical to the first, but we will see how that plays out. So.
But wouldn't there be a precedent set that because it's in the same, you know, development, so to speak, it's now a development and it should be looked at as a development, not as a single family home?
But who said it was a development, Us?
I mean, but it does feel like, I mean, it's the exact same situation of a home in this development with the same appeal based on the same decision from the fire code official. So it feels like our decision would be very simple. Of it's the same decision we just had last time.
Right. And the only difference in this case is it won't be or at least to my knowledge anyway, the lot has been sold to a third party. So the person that could appeal is not related a family member to the owners or was an owner of the LLC. So that would be the only catch, that they might have a slightly different view.
Right.
Which I don't think to me was not a factor in the appeal decision anyway, of whether they were related or not related.
Yep.
I think if we're subject to another appeal within the same development, we get into legal an opinion. How should we accept it? I think that would be the course of action you may want to consider.
Agree, that makes sense. Okay, any further discussion on that?
So we're gonna leave the fee structure alone until the next appeal. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
All right. Public comments. There doesn't look like there's any public here. So no one has any comments. Board of Appeal, any comments from Eric, Jane, Chief?
So this case has gone, there's a lawsuit in the township. Is that over whether it's a development or not, or what exactly is that lawsuit?
I believe the lawsuit is based on taking of the property, allegedly taking of the property, and insisting that the Bowdishers single-handedly install a water main. And that was never the intent of the review. And never, it was always for, you bought this as a part of a development, where's the water supply, just like there would be power or whatever else. So that was always the premise on the review. And I believe the lawsuit stems from, you can't make one person run a water main the 800 feet. A simplified version.
Okay, so when does our insurance kick in on this? Does it, or do we just continue to?
They are involved now.
Okay.
Everything, they are the lead. The lawyers for the insurance company have taken the lead on this, so there's a group of them.
Okay, all right.
And they're working with the district attorney as well.
All right. Eric, anything from you?
No,
Cool. Chief, Chris, anything else from you two?
No, sir.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you all. I always forget, do I need a roll call to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a
Let's do 'em
motion.
anyway.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second, and sorry I was late. I was
Oh, no
deep in
worries.
the world of finance.
No worries. All right, a motion and a second to adjourn at 4:25 p.m. You ready for a roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay, Beckman,
Yes.
Plank,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Passes 3-0, sir.
Thank you.
You guys all have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.